documents and emails and messages and chats and WhatsApp and phone calls. Technology was supposed to simplify life. It was supposed to make this easy. But it's not done that. In fact, we've got more noise, we've got more drudgery that zaps the energy out of all of us, takes the creativity out, takes the joy out. And my wish from AI, and I'd love for all of you to imagine a world where this technology, where AI can truly free us, truly take this drudgery out of our work, make us creative once again, bring the joy back at work. We're all meant to be so much more. And I really hope tech and AI will solve this. So that's the promise of AI, and hopefully with Copilots, and I'll go deep into this, we will make this real. So enough stories. Let's talk about promise to proof, as I said. And I'll talk about 3 things today. Number 1, why do I believe AI is the defining technology of our time? It's a defining technology for you and for me and for everybody around us. Number 2, how's this out of the labs now? Going back to this piece around it being amorphous, I want to talk about the runs on the board that AI is already delivering in India, right here in our country. And finally, how's Microsoft truly co-piloting India and South Asia's transformation with AI? Okay, let's get started. Yes. So what's really changed with AI in the last 12 months since we did the last AI tour? These models that 2 years ago we didn't know anything about LLMs and SLMs, and now they roll off our tongues like we've known them forever. But the interesting thing in the last 12 months is that these models are becoming larger and smaller at the same time. The LLMs and the SLMs, and now we've got tiny language models. But the interesting thing is AI is no longer that chat llama that we are used to. It's built some remarkable capabilities. It can see us, it can hear us, it can understand us, it knows our context. It's almost like a second brain. It's almost like a companion for life. In fact, the way we think, our thinking is not one-shot thinking. Like we think and then we reflect and then we simulate stuff and then we iterate. Some people like me overthink. That's how these models are thinking. They're looking at reality differently, but they're thinking like we think. Now, what are the implications of this? 3 implications for you and I. Number 1, intelligence. We're reducing the cost of intelligence with these models every day. These models today are the dumbest and the most expensive they will ever be. They're only getting smarter and cheaper every day. Number 2, empathy. Going back to digital clerks and Sisyphus, there's real empathy coming. There's real personality coming. Imagine a new way to make connections with machines. And these machines will do that. It'll be lighter, it'll be less cluttered, it'll be a much cleaner experience. An experience that's calm, that's responsive, that's easy. And AI is developing a personality like you can't imagine. Like I can imagine a future in the next few years where my AI is so distinct and peculiar, it's different from yours. And some of us, when we go to LinkedIn and talk about our profiles, we'll talk about not just Puneet, we'll say Puneet plus his AI. Or you plus your AI. That's where we headed. And finally, agency, which is where the magic begins to happen. The AI world today is buzzing with agents. And these are not the James Bond kind of agents. These are autonomous software systems that understand the context, they understand your preferences, and they get stuff done for you. With your permission, but not your involvement. Let me show you all of these 3 quickly and bring these to life. This is really interesting. We're all used to seeing bell curves. The black line is the bell curve that we're all used to seeing. With AI, what's going to happen to the talent curves that we are used to seeing? My prediction, it'll shift towards the right. And Satya said something beautiful the other day. He said, AI reduces the floor and raises the ceiling. It reduces the floor and raises the ceiling. I'll tell you another personal story. I mean, you go to any hospital in the country today, the first-year doctors are out of work, the 20th-year doctors are out of time. Everybody wants to go to the 20th-year doctor. So I went with my mom for a surgery recently. I wanted to get to the HOD and the senior-most doctor. Imagine a co-pilot for doctors, and we're building that now, where the first-year doctor has access to the same information, same expertise, same judgment, so that he or she can do the same interventions that a 20th-year doctor does. So we reduce the floor, we're raising the ceiling. The 20th-year doctor can do so much more interesting stuff now. Same for lawyers. Same for technologists. Same for government professionals. Every profession's got the same thing. And it's already starting to change. So that's more intelligence coming your way. Let me show you empathy in action.
Hey, Copilot. I'm looking for a place to stay.
Let's take a look. What do you think of the locked house?
It's a bit pricey.
You are a bit bougie, aren't you?
I am not. I'm just looking for something nice. A little color on the walls, you know?
This one definitely has some color.
Wow. It's giving me a headache.
We don't want that. Wait, this one looks perfect. Minimal, modern, you.
You're right. I love it. We're booking it.
What I love about this is not the intelligence of this model. It's seeing everything that we're seeing and helping you, guiding you through this, but it's the empathy. It's the personality, it's the tone, it's the conversation. Copilots will exist by our side. They'll be companions. They'll support us. They'll hold our hand. They'll be a guardian angel for us. They'll be a coach for us. And I think that's where this will become even more real, when empathy comes in, when personality comes in, when tone comes in, and we go out from the cluttered, noisy world that we used to. So I spoke about intelligence. I spoke about empathy. Let me show you agency in action, and I'll tell you my own personal productivity hack. Let's get this going. So I actually put this on the Copilot. I was flying to Bangalore. I said I have 2 meetings with 2 CEOs. I need 2 things by the time I land. I need a short deck summarizing our data center proposition. And for the second meeting, I need a final proposal that my legal team's approved. Copilot, can you get that done by the time I land in Bangalore? This is what happened in the background. First, by the way, look at the empathy, look at the tone. Puneet, hope you had a safe flight in. Those are the 2 things you asked me to do. The first one, the link for the value proposition is ready. It'll show it to you in a minute. Well, let's see if yes, it shows it to you right now. This is ready to go by the time I land. I had to do nothing on the flight. I could watch a movie. And then it'll show me the proposal. And by the way, on the proposal, it's called out that this one of the RFP clauses requires a legal approval. And before you get this ready for showtime, you need to speak to your legal team. This is real, folks. This is agency in action. Seriously, this is coming, and imagine the productivity lift that you'll all get, not just when you're on a flight, but when AI works with you, not for you. Okay, so enough about what's happened in AI. Let's talk about some impact stories and how we're getting runs on the board. Every industry, every vertical, every function today is being invented and reinvented with AI. I'll give you a couple of examples on this. Kisan AI, 100,000 farmers in our country today are using AI to understand crops and how to grow them. Indigo, we all use that airline. 6E Sky, 75% workload reduction for people who are managing customer queries. That is doing end-to-end ticket booking, check-ins, everything. ICICI Bank, they're managing 30 lakh service requests a month, a lakh a day, just using AI. I could just go on, but it's just incredible to see the impact that's starting to happen. Now, how's Microsoft playing a role? Let's talk about that. Yes, this is one of my favorite charts, and I thought I'll give you some statistics on what's really going on with Microsoft and AI. 800 customers today using AI in the country, Azure OpenAI on Microsoft. Copilots, the AI agents I spoke about with intelligence, empathy, and agency, 10x growth. But tech is not the news here. Impact is the news. 5x ROI on is the news. 5x ROI on every dollar that's being spent today in India on Gen AI. 5x ROI. Now, if you're a business professional, if you're a CFO, this is a no-brainer. More important, customer sat. 2x growth in customer sat. Going back to the Indigo example, 75% workload reduction, customer sat is up. And finally, we've got customers across the country using boardrooms, and we're doing AI boardrooms with pretty much everybody in the country having a deep conversation on AI. And the reason this is happening is because of 3 things. One, we're bringing the best AI infrastructure for training and inference to the country. Second, we've got the data tier, where you get your entire data to rendezvous and come together. And finally, the app layer innovation with Copilots. You bring those 3 things together, and impact is happening. Another of my favorite charts, Microsoft is now becoming the home for India to build AI. And again, I spoke about the AI infrastructure, the training, the inference. But customers always vote with their feet. Customers always vote with their feet. And if you look at this, there's a march going on towards Microsoft, which we are truly excited about. This humbles us every day. This makes us proud every day. This makes us work harder every day. But pretty much each and every part of this country today is building on Microsoft, and we're truly excited about that. And I know my 15-minute presentation can't take you from promise to proof completely, so we wrote a book on this. It's called Promise to Proof. We've got 200 plus case studies, real stories of impact in India, every sector, every function, every persona you can think of. And I'd encourage you to take this book. It's around here today, and we'll make sure we get a copy to you. But please do have a look and inspire your teams to go all in long before this is conventional wisdom. Don't dip your toes. This is time for you to go in. So let me bring the three things that I spoke about together, the three strings. Number one, AI is the defining technology of our time. This will change everything about life. This will change everything about work. This will change everything about how we operate. We will hopefully get out of the drudgery and the digital clerk mode of working to something which is far more creative, far more joyful, far more clean, and less cluttered. Number two, AI is out of the labs. I know some of us are still sitting on the fence, techno-optimist, phobist. I would encourage you to not wait now. Don't wait for conventional wisdom to catch up. Go all in now. This is the time for you to go in. And finally, Microsoft, in a very humble and proud way, is co-piloting India and South Asia's transformation, and we are so excited about it. I started with history. I started with Greek mythology. I will end with a call to the future. And I can promise you, and I can welcome you to the future. We're at the cusp of a new era of tech. This is something that we've never seen before. And I would encourage all of you to go in. Don't dip your toes. This is the time to go in. And I can promise you one thing, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
How do we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more?
It starts with one.
From one employee to a team, collaborating with another team.
From one partner to their customers, to their customers' customers. Expanding opportunity.
Earning trust. Protecting fundamental rights.
And advancing sustainability.
For our society.
Our economy. Our world.
That's the impact. That's the impact.
That's the impact each of us can have.
That's our collective opportunity.
220,000 employees.
Empowering 8 billion people on the planet.
We are in a new era of AI,
where we will be able to build as fast as our imagination.
Unlock
and innovate responsibly.
As we take on society's biggest challenges.
Together, we can ensure these benefits reach
every country, every industry,
and every individual.
When we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more,
we empower the world.
Good morning. It's fantastic to be back here in Delhi at a time like this when, for us in the tech industry, when these platform shifts are occurring, really there's change in the air, but more important than that is the impact of all this technology is something that you can sort of get a real sense for. So it's really exciting to be back here in India and spending time with people across the Indian society and economy, really taking advantage of what is this new abundance that's getting created, which is essentially intelligence. So I wanted to spend the next half hour or so giving you a bit of a feel for how I see us together taking advantage of this platform shift to have that broad impact. One of the things in the 35 years that I've been in tech, I've always found to be very useful is to ground yourself in what's that core driver of this shift. For example, for most of my 35 years, there's been one thing that has really been most helpful, which is Moore's Law. In fact, Bill used to collect the 200 top people at Microsoft, and they'd give one instruction, which was Here's Moore's law, this is what's going to do next year, here's what's happening with memory, here's what's happening with disk, go fill it with software. That was as simple as that. And in some sense, starting in 2010, we started seeing Moore's law again applied to intelligence. That was the DNN, or the neural network breakthrough, and then it inflected again with transformers in 2019. And so what in fact was the doubling of performance or capacity in Moore's law, which was an 18-month, it was happening every 6 months. Now, there's a lot of debate, at least in the tech circles, is like, have we plateaued, what happens to pre-training and what have you. But the reality is, things get a little more complicated at scale, but nevertheless, I do believe that this will continue to scale. But the more interesting thing is, there's a new scaling law, which is the inference time scaling law. So this is essentially when you use something like Copilot Think Harder, that's essentially, just like us, if you're given a tough problem, we think harder, we just don't instantly answer. The same thing applies even for compute applied to intelligence, and that's what test time compute law is. So both of these, by the way, we call them laws, but they're really empirical observations that hold true for a long period of time, and you can so therefore take it for granted. And so that's really the power. It translates into, I would say, 3 major breakthroughs. The first is the multimodal input and output. It's just stunning to think about every software category out there that you now can interface with speech or text or vision, both input and output. So that means your computer usage will completely change. In some sense, this idea that I go to a computer and then do something on the computer may go away, because computing will become much more ambient because of that interface change. The second thing is these things have real reasoning capability and planning capability. Right, so in some sense, we think about intelligence as just a request response, but it's really a request to do a plan that I have some agency in, and I'll show you a couple of things that'll really bring that to forth. And then what's happening even outside the model, like giving it context, giving it memory, giving it entitlements, giving it tools use, all those are coming together to make this rich tapestry of agents, right? Agents that work on my behalf, personal agents, agents that work on the behalf of my team, agents that work across the enterprise. So that's the agentic world that we are about to build. Now, for us at Microsoft, quite frankly, it's not about technology for technology's sake. It's about our mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more through these benefits of this technology. And that means in the AI era in particular, it's about translating this into real organizational outcomes, right? Whether it's the experience, right? Whether if it's a public sector organization trying to serve citizens, how do we make sure that the experience there really benefits from AI? The productivity inside, the innovation curve can be bended, the operational efficiency. So that's ultimately the goal of all of this technology, and that's what we are focused on. Now, to that end, we are building out 3 platforms. We're building Copilot, Copilot and AI Stack, and Copilot devices, and I wanted to sort of give you a sense for what these 3 platforms are really about. The first one on Copilot, the best way to conceptualize it is it's the UI for AI. In fact, the way we have designed it is to ensure that you build in Copilot into a lot of the applications you use today in your workflow, right? Built into Teams, built into Word, built into Excel. Anywhere you're using it, you have the ability to be able to sort of use these Copilots. Then one illustrative example for me that has been fantastic is, let's say in healthcare, there is a doctor who is going and trying to get ready for a tumor board meeting. Just take that as an example. I don't know if that video is, yeah. So, your tumor board meetings are pretty high stakes meetings, right? I mean, you really want to prep for it, knowing that even the agenda that gets set should account for the complexity of each case, right? Because it's not a normalized agenda, it's an agenda where you want to be able to spend time on the more complicated cases. So a doctor just goes and types in a prompt, it looks at all the cases, creates the agenda. They go into a Teams meeting, they have the meeting, and the meeting, they're paying attention to the cases as opposed to taking notes. At the end of it, you create an entire artifact, which is it's not just a transcript, it's an intelligent summary of what the takeaways from the tumor board meeting are. And she happens to be a teaching doctor, so she wants to go teach right after the tumor board meeting. And so that workflow from going from the meeting transcript to a Word document to a PowerPoint is all automated. So that's just a simple example of the burden, the cognitive load, right? The drudgery of doctors' work is now more focused on the patient outcome versus all the paperwork and workflow, right? That's as simple as that. Now, the next step for us is to build a new AI hub, right? And we call this Copilot Chat with work and web and pages. So for example, every day when I'm meeting a customer or a partner, I just go to Copilot, ask, tell me the latest that I need to know about everything that we're doing with this customer or partner. It comes back with a response. I immediately promote it into pages. So this is the first artifact. This is an AI first artifact. Think of it like what Word or Excel or PowerPoint did back in the day. Pages is the first artifact of the AI era where I think with AI, but work with my colleagues, right? Think of that as the new workflow. So I'm using AI to get the latest information, the latest knowledge from the web and my work into pages. And then I can still have my AI continually refining my pages, but at the same time I'm collaborating with all my colleagues. That is sort of the new way to think about how we all will continue to work and create knowledge work and distribute knowledge inside of an organization. Now, that's all fantastic. So we've built Copilot into the existing workflow. We've created a new Copilot hub, which is essentially chat plus pages. But it doesn't end there. We have allowed for extensibility, right? So just like how in Excel you can go, it's a Turing machine, you can go write a macro and extend Excel. Similarly, you can think of Copilot as an extensible system. And so one of the things that we're doing is Copilot Actions. Way back, we introduced something called Outlook Rules. That's the way I used to manage all my inbox. But now we have a more sophisticated system which works across all of Microsoft 365, right? Because if you think about a lot of knowledge work is all about relating people to gathering some information, to distributing some information, a set of actions that you do. So therefore, you can now set up these things which are really doing your weekly report, your trip report, your collection of status. All of that can just be automated across all of the entire M365 system. Now, it's not just about Copilot Actions, but we are now also building agents. In fact, we are building out of the box a bunch of agents, right? Inside of a Teams meeting, you can have a facilitator, you can have a translator, you can have a project manager, right? You can have somebody who helps you. Essentially, think of it as an extra teammate who really helps you with your projects. Every SharePoint repository that you have lots of documents also has an agent out of the box. So it's an intelligence of that SharePoint site now translated into an agent. So these are all agents. So I just wanted to roll a video to give you a flavor for what they all do. So let's roll the video.
New agents in Microsoft 365 are transforming how humans and AI collaborate. Meet agents in SharePoint, which unlock high-value insights that are connected to your organization's documents. Created with just a few clicks, these agents enhance knowledge sharing. They can be customized with additional data sources in Copilot Studio and can be shared anywhere like a Teams chat. Next is the Facilitator agent, joining meetings to manage tasks like the agenda, real-time notes, and action items, allowing the team to stay focused on the discussion. And the Facilitator agent can also streamline communication in chats by providing real-time summaries and responding to questions so the team can focus on what matters. With the new Interpreter agent, language barriers are a thing of the past, enabling real-time speech interpretation so everyone can speak and listen in different languages.
Thoughts from marketing about the upcoming campaign. If we get a game plan, we can aim that. 내놓는 것을 목표로 할 수 있을 겁니다.
And the project manager agent creates project plans, assigns tasks, and even completes them on behalf of the team, keeping everyone informed and collaborating effectively. Finally, for specialized business processes in HR and IT, the new employee self-service agent in Copilot Business Chat enables employees to get instant answers and take action, such as logging a help desk ticket. And it can be customized in Copilot Studio using pre-built workflows and more. New agents in Microsoft 365, supercharging productivity to reinvent how work gets done.
So that gives you a bit of a flavor for what agents can do in Microsoft 365. So we talked about Copilot, we talked about Copilot pages, we talked about Copilot actions, Copilot agents. But the real breakthrough for me is, can we demystify creation of these agents and make it simple? Just like how we say, create documents or we create spreadsheets. We should be able to create agents just like that. In fact, the way to conceptualize the world going forward is every one of us doing knowledge work will use Copilot to do our work, and we will create a swarm of agents to help us with our work and drive the productivity of our organization. And so to that end, we're building Copilot Studio. So think of this as simple as if you can create a spreadsheet or a document, you should be able to create an agent. And that's what Copilot Studio does. So here I'm building. I happen to be a frontline worker. I want to create a field service agent. I have a field service system. So all I need to do is to be able to give it a prompt, right, that says in instructions, that say, I want you to behave like a field service agent. And then I give it knowledge sources. In this case, there happen to be a SharePoint site with a lot of documents, as well as my field service applications. In this case, let's say it's a Dynamics application. So I give it the two sources of knowledge, I give it the instructions, click, 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 and I have an agent that now can dock with Copilot. So I can go into my Copilot and say, @field service agent, I can now start talking to my field service agent. So that's the simplicity, or that's the ease with which one can start creating agents, these thousands and hundreds of thousands of agents that will be there inside of an organization, just like documents and spreadsheets that are there inside an organization. Now, the last piece of the Copilot platform is measurement. Because at the end of the day, we really want to make sure that all this technology, all this usage of Copilot is leading to outcomes. That are business outcomes or organizational outcomes. And let's say you are even a field, let's say you're a territory manager, and you want to be able to correlate the improvement of the yield of your sales. You should be able to then correlate that directly to the usage. So we are even building in Copilot analytics, just to give that agency and confidence to every knowledge worker, every leader, manager, so that they know that usage of intelligence as part of their daily workflow is improving the business outcomes that they care about, right? So that's the full system. So that's the entirety of what we're doing. Copilot is a UI for AI that is built into the existing workflows, creating new workflow habits, and then to be able to extend it with actions and agents. So that's essentially what we're doing. Now, the next the thing that I want to talk about is the impact it's having, right? Even in Microsoft, it's having significant impact. We now are seeing strong double-digit growth, whether it's in our marketing efficiency, whether it's in customer service, HR operations. So take any one of these things, right? These are strong double digits. So those of you who like to do budgets like me, that means I'm baking this into sort of every year, right? There's a 10-15% operating leverage on every line item. And that means, if you take 10-15%, that means in 5 years, 6 years, it's 100% improvement. And so think of that type of efficiency and leverage that you can get to your core operations of your organization. Now, it's not just at Microsoft. We are seeing this, quite frankly, at scale. The most exciting part of even coming to India, which I've done across over the last 32 years I've worked at Microsoft, starting with the PC to client server to web to mobile to cloud, the diffusion rate is much faster. Adoption rates are much faster. In fact, there's not much of a distinction. I can be in, Seattle or Palo Alto, or I can be in Delhi or Bangalore. It's not that different in terms of how people are talking about this technology, applying this technology, and it's phenomenal to see. So we have lots and lots of customers. In fact, this morning I had a chance to meet even, our partners at LTI Mindtree. And it just showed me that simple example, quite frankly, of what they did. They took Copilot, deployed it broadly, and then they built 2 real mission-critical agents for themselves. If you think about their business, what's their business all about? Their business is about responding to RFPs. So they have an RFP response agent, which is now showing 50+% gains in terms of time saved, right? If you can respond fast to an RFP, that's sort of business. Second thing is, once you win the RFP, you need to be able to map talent, right? That's the next big mission critical thing. They need to be able to, in real time, know who has, let's say, the skills in insurance industry and some technology to be able to do that query, when are they coming off, and how do I do the talent mapping? So they built these 2 agents that work in concert with Copilot and are driving productivity of this organization. So that's the type of impact this technology can have. So now I'll go to the next platform, which is the Copilot and AI stack. Now, the way we are conceptualizing is essentially we are taking everything that we use to build Copilot platform and are externalizing it so that anybody can build their own AI platforms. And that's essentially what this stack is about, starting with the core infrastructure. So we talk about Azure as the world's computer. We have 60+ regions around the world with 300+ data centers. We are excited about the footprint we have in India, which, across all of the regions we have in India. And now, yesterday I announced that we are expanding that with the $3 billion more capital investment in the country to expand and bring the latest AI infrastructure so that we can keep growing this. Yeah, we're very excited about it. And that means we want to make sure the best AI infrastructure is available, right? It's the efficiency, it's the cost, such that you can create more of this intelligence and abundance of this intelligence. To that end, quite frankly, this is about, when we talk about our $3 billion investment, one of the things I want us to think about is, it's even the best stimulus for the upstream capital investments by our partners in the energy sector. In fact, the new performance equation I talk about is any country or any company or any community that gets ahead on tokens per dollar per watt, right? That's it. So if you can create more tokens per dollar spent per watt used, that is directly going to translate into GDP growth. And so for that, you want to have world-class infrastructure. That world-class infrastructure we will invest in. But upstream from us, people will build renewable energy projects. Those renewable energy projects will have us as offtake. So that means project financing for them will be lower. And that'll all add up and accrue to become economic benefits for the community. So we are very, very excited about all the innovation we are doing upstream, that's happening upstream from us, what we're doing in even our data centers. I mean, just to give you, it's a construction project, but the construction project requires pretty novel innovation, right? We're doing liquid-cooled data centers, which have to be zero waste and zero water usage. So there's a lot of innovation that will be driven in terms of how we even build from sort of the core material science to the cooling systems. And then, of course, on silicon, right? We're working with, whether it's NVIDIA or AMD, our own silicon in Maya. In fact, yesterday, we sort of got GB200s, the first clusters with the GB200s with NVLink in production in Azure. It's very exciting, especially just in time for this test time compute scaling, as I like to sort of say. So it's exciting to see the progress on the core infrastructure. Now, once you have, let's say, great infrastructure to be able to both do training of large models, inference of models, the next big consideration is data, because ultimately, the source of all intelligence is data. And so you need to really think about first rendezvousing all of the data you have such that it is next to your models. And to that end, we support a very wide variety of data sources. So whether it's Oracle or our own SQL Server, whether it's Databricks or Snowflake, you can bring them in, put it into one lake, have them in Parquet format, and then you can then hydrate them inside of sort of analytics stores, or you can put them into operational stores. In fact, even ChatGPT, for example, is the biggest user of Cosmos DB. If it's a stateful application, it uses all this user state is in Cosmos DB. So it's just, data is another massive, massive consideration for anybody thinking about building next generation of AI. Now, once you have, let's say, infrastructure plus data, then the next thing is to start building an application. With every generation of these platform shifts, you have a new app server, right? The web had an app server, mobile had an app server, cloud had an app server, and so is this case with even AI. And the first thing in the app server does, there's no such thing as one model. We're obviously super excited about all the innovation coming out of OpenAI, and whether it's O1 or whether it's O3 or whether it's 4.0, but we also have all the models, whether they're from open source, whether they're Llama or Mistral. There's SLMs and LLMs, right? So 5.4 sets the standard for what a small language model can do. They're industry models. So all of those are available to you to use as you build out your applications. It's not about any one model. Now, once you have all the models, you want to be able to then have all the services around evaluating the performance of these models, to be able to do safety checks, guardrails, such that you really make sure that, or groundedness. One of the things that's very exciting is to use AI to actually check the groundedness, right? Because one of the things people talk a lot about is hallucinations in LLMs. Guess what? You have an evaluation plus groundedness, and then you can make sure that you are really making increasing the groundedness of your model until it doesn't hallucinate as defined by the evals. So these are the kinds of things, and also all the AI ops and the observability. So these are all considerations that we're building into Foundry, which is an app server for the AI age. So you have infrastructure, you have data, and now you have the app server in Foundry. And we are now seeing tremendous amount, again, of adoption, right? Just like how I said in Copilot, people are using it and extending it. We are now seeing people build their own AI applications, AI agents, right? They're all the logos up here. And in fact, I'm very excited to see, as part of this trip of mine, to announce partnerships across every sector with Apollo in healthcare, with Bajaj Financial Services in financial services, Mahindra in manufacturing, Railtel. I had a chance to meet with the team there. What they're doing is fantastic to see, and Upgrad. So all of these folks are really being able to sort of take this technology, and I'm excited about the partnerships we have. Now, I also had a chance this morning to meet with folks who are doing innovative things. Like, for example, I met the folks in Bharat AI who are really doing Indic language models that are going to have real impact in education and extending. So this is LLMs being built right here. They were talking to me about sort of the next generation of synthetic data use in order to be able to get better performance out of this. I had a chance to meet with the eSanjeevani folks. It's just phenomenal to see what telemedicine, and their scale is extraordinary in terms of what it can do in terms of reach. I had a chance to meet with my alma mater folks at Manipal, that they're all working on deploying. I mean, it was great to see that they're giving GitHub. I wish I had it when I was at school. They have GitHub Copilot as a standard issue to all the students. It's fantastic. I had a chance to meet with Suzlon, who is now using it for preventive maintenance, and across the board, their vertically integrated energy provider, who is using it across every part of their value chain. The one example that I wanted to highlight was what I got a chance to see, where I got a chance to see one of the small farmers who was part of the Baramati co-op, where you are finally able to, for me even, like whenever I see these examples where you can take this powerful technology, but make it have impact where a small landowner is able to improve the yield of their land And the numbers they shared in terms of reduction in chemicals, 40%, improvement in water usage by 40%, and ultimately yield by 40% was phenomenal. And so I just wanted to roll the video to give you a flavor for that.
In India, we are producing some of the major crops in large quantity like sugarcane, wheat, rice, pulses, and cotton. But when we compare our yield with the other developed countries, it is too low. Soil erosion is the major problem in India today because of overuse of pesticides and fertilizer.
आणि नेमकं आपला उन्हाळ्यामध्ये पाण्याची कमतरता पडते त्याच्यामुळे आणि उत्पन्न कमी झालेलं आहे.
LDT Baramati is working for the agriculture community for more than 5 decades. This trust was started to uplift the farmers who were very poor, had no resources. Through this, we have changed the life of millions of farmers.
Agripilot.ai allows farmers to avoid guesswork and use science to give the ground truth to make the right decisions and make them successful.
In this project, we have selected 1,000 progressive farmers from across the Maharashtra. We have installed weather stations, sensors in the soil, and provided satellite support to all the farmers. We are collecting real-time data from the soil every day.
Agripilot.ai uses Microsoft Azure Data Manager for agriculture for making the decisions. It's running more than 20 plus algorithms that can lead to accurate results based on the historical pattern. Azure OpenAI allows the farmer to ask the questions in local languages, which can be delivered on their WhatsApp.
They are precisely using irrigation, fertigation, and pesticide practices in their farm.
जे पिकात डायरेक्ट आपल्याला लगेचच लक्षात येतं. पीक तर अगदी जोमानं आलेलं आहे. फुटव्यांची संख्या पण वाढलेली आहे आणि ह्याची रोपांची म्हणजे उंची पण वाढलेली आहे. तर माझ्या पूर्ण क्षेत्रावरती मी अशा पद्धतीनं ऊसाचं पीक लावण्याचा ठरवलेला आहे की जेणेकरून माझा खर्च कमी होईल आणि उत्पन्न जास्त येईल.
It's one of the most stunning examples of really cutting-edge technology, right? So think about it, like one of the things it does is what sensor fusion, we've been talking about it for decades. This is using geospatial data, spatio-temporal data from drones, from satellites, from soil, all getting connected in real time, and then to apply AI to it, and then translate it back into knowledge for a farmer who is just asking questions in their vernacular language. Right, that's the stitching together. It's pretty phenomenal to see. Now, you now have all these pieces, right? So you have the infrastructure, you have data, you have an app server, people are building applications. The question is, how are we building applications? That's, Microsoft has always thought about tooling as a first-class priority. That's, in fact, in 1975, we started as a tools company. We still take the tools software developers use as a first priority, and therefore, GitHub is a massive, massive part of what we do. It's really exciting to see the progress in India. It's the second largest community. We have 17 million people who are members of GitHub. It's the second largest developer community next to the United States. Even in AI projects, India now is second to the US in terms of the projects. By the way, I think India is projected to grow past the United States in 28 in terms of GitHub participation itself. And it's exciting to see that. And that Baramati project, the underlying platform, I just in fact checked this morning. It's called, I think, Farm Vibes. It's on GitHub. The fully open sourced and available on GitHub. So it's really exciting to see how this community is growing. And GitHub Copilot is the tool that's, in fact, my own conviction in this AI era all started when I first started seeing and using GitHub Copilot and what it could do for software engineering, removing the drudgery. We had taken out the fun out of software engineering sometimes, and so we brought it back, the flow state, to be able to sort of really have the ability to get things done. And GitHub Copilot, we had lots of innovation there, and we're excited about the progress that's being made there. So the last platform I want to briefly talk about is all of what's happening in the cloud with all this infrastructure, systems, and silicon innovation is coming to the edge. In some sense, that Baramati example is an example of that, right? After all, it's about sort of what is AI models that may be even running onboard compute locally. And that's what motivates us. With Copilot devices. So we are building Copilot devices with these unbelievable sort of local processing capabilities with NPUs and GPUs. So we are working with Qualcomm with this Copilot PCs that now have 40 plus TOPS locally. That means you can run large models or locally. And the way to think about computing going forward is hybrid. It's not about local and cloud, it's about local and cloud working together. That's the model for any application going forward. Even yesterday, again, NVIDIA launched lots of fantastic GPUs. Guess what? The best way to run those GPUs is on a PC with WSL, and you have the best AI capabilities locally and in the cloud. So in some sense, I think the innovation around systems and AI will happen across the cloud and the edge. And to give you a flavor for all of the innovation on Copilot devices, let me just roll the video. You know, the two everyday habits that have become, it's like Copilot voice. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like even on my iPhone, I set up my action button to Copilot, and I'm now speaking Hyderabadi Urdu to it all the time, and it's just so fun. But the other thing is Copilot Vision, right? So this is a game changer in the sense of now having Copilot that sees the screen. And so when you're working, right, it can be a research paper, it can be a news article, it can be shopping. To have a Copilot that sees the screen and helps you, and you can ask it. It's kind of like having a guardian angel that is sort of really there to help you with your task. So it's unbelievable how all these devices will evolve and the multimodality will evolve to become daily habits. But of course, these three platforms that we're building all ultimately are grounded in one thing and one thing alone, quite frankly, because it's about building trust around these platforms so that they can broadly be used. Because tech now is so important and it's so ingrained in our daily lives and in our society and in our economy that you really need to make sure that there's trust around it. And trust is obviously not something you claim, but it's earned. And that means we have a set of principles, whether it's on security, privacy, or on AI safety. But we translate those principles into actual capability, right? I mean, you have to sort of test yourself on, are you moving the state of the art on the safety, on the security, on the privacy, and on trust at the same rate as the capability, right? Because the unintended consequences cannot outrun the benefits. And that, I think, is the core learning even for our sector. And that's something that we are very, very grounded on. So for example, on security side, like, you know, you got to take something like new attack vectors, like prompt injections, as seriously and build the guardrails for that. And so that's what we're doing. Or on privacy, we've always had confidential computing, but you now need to bring confidential computing to the GPUs and AI accelerators. That's what we're doing. When it comes to AI safety, I talked about that groundedness service, right? How do you make sure that you can not have these hallucinations impact something in healthcare? So these are all the things that are capabilities we are building in order to ensure that there's more trust in all of these systems. Now, I want to end where I started, which is our mission to empower every person and every organization in India to achieve more. And in order to do that, even if you have the technology, ultimately, it is about being able to scale the human capital, right? The scaling laws of technology is one thing. It's about scaling of the human skills in any community, in any country, is the most important thing to be able to harness that, right? So that's really what our goal is. And it's great to see, the LinkedIn data shows tremendous progress around skilling that's already happening around AI in India. We were very excited yesterday to announce that we are going to train 10 million people by 2030 around AI skills. And And today, I'm really excited to announce with the Ministry of Electronics and IT that we are going to do skilling of 500,000 rural population around AI skills. And I think that idea of inclusive growth is fantastic to see. So that's really a little bit of a broad view of these three platforms and what I think it'll entail for India as an opportunity to have real impact across the length and breadth of this country, across every sector of this economy. And we are deeply committed to that progress and to that impact. Thank you all very much. I'll leave you with a video. Thank you.